Hello and welcome back to the Battery Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Aidan. With me, my other co-host, Jack, and we got two special guests from the Outside the Box podcast today. We've got Kyle and DJ. Both of you, thank you both so much for coming on. Tell the folks at home a little bit about yourselves and the podcast, and we'll get into it.
Thanks for having us, guys. I know DJ and I have talked about this on our show a ton. We've been waiting for that one moment for a PLL team to have like a team specific podcast. And when we both saw the Boston Battery had a podcast, we both were like, yes, somebody finally took our advice. So we're pumped to be on. Yeah, been doing OTB since November of 2018. Myself and my original co-host, who still works for our company, Don Ponteri, who started it when the Philadelphia Wings came back into the NLL. It was like prime opportunity for us. And then June 2021, oddly enough, I was in the press box at Gillette Stadium. My co-host DJ now was in the stands as a fan, and I saw him in RJ's vlog, and he said he drove 16 hours from Michigan to Boston. And I was like, that's an amazing story. I need to find out more about this. And he and I just had instant chemistry from the interview. And I was looking for a full-time co-host at the time. And I was like, dude, do you just want to co-host this podcast with me? Because like we clicked instantly. And we've been podcasting duo, travel in the country, covering lacrosse for a third season coming up now.
Yeah,
Wow.
3 years. Yeah, that whole thing was crazy. We didn't meet, but we were in Columbus 2019 at the same time. He was up in the press box. I was down with my college team, Adrian, in the stands. Coach had us go to that, which was awesome because that was like the first ever like "Let's Go Redwoods" chants and like all that kind of stuff. For both of us to be there was kind of like almost destined for us to have met again. And then Boston's a great place because now it kind of gives us a tie to you guys. Gillette's
Yeah.
special. I honestly hate that we go to Boston every year, but Gillette is so special for that moment that it's fine with me too. But yeah, I didn't get into lacrosse until high school, my junior year. I played basketball up until then, so I just took basketball and just put a stick to it. They're the same game, which made things very easy for me. Played 2 years of high school and then 4 years in college at Adrian. Came back home, work radio during the day, travel as much as I can with KB and get out on the road to cover some of this PLL stuff. And then I also coach high school and travel here at home. So yeah, that's the quick rundown. But the story of how I ended up on OTB is probably the most wild thing in my life.
Oddly
Yeah,
enough, started
definitely.
in Boston.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I
It
think
was
I was
meant
actually
to
also
be.
at that. I was actually also at that game. Cannon's Water Dogs, right? Was the first one of the. Oh, it was
Was
Cannon's.
No, no, no,
Cannon's
no.
Woods
Cannon's
Yeah,
Woods
Cannon's
was
Woods.
the first
Woods.
game.
was the Friday night. Cannon's Dogs was
Yeah,
Yeah,
Sunday.
because
I
that was
was
the
at
three
the
game or the 3 day
because
weekends.
3 day
yeah,
weekends because the
that
17th.
was
That's
when
right.
Miles took flight.
Yep. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
I
I was at
remember
the
that
Sunday game. I was
weekend.
not at the Friday, but yeah. I mean, can't object to Gillette as a lacrosse venue. I mean, when they really start to pack it in, like, have you guys been to a national championship game there as well, or any of the like the Final Four weekends? It's such a good
Not
atmosphere.
No.
yet. We've been
Next
to,
year.
we went last year together at Lincoln Financial
Mhm.
Field in Philly, obviously.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And that was just an awesome atmosphere.
Yeah,
So
I was there too.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Especially for Notre Dame to get there first. It
Yep.
was insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, it should be really good there again this year. Looking forward to seeing it on TV. I will not be in attendance, but next year at Gillette, definitely going to be in attendance.
Well, are
Okay.
we gonna
Yeah.
have to make another trip to Gillette?
I think so. I think we got to already book it
Yep.
2025 Memorial Day.
Bob
that,
Kraft just built too good of a stadium.
that's a tough trip. I don't know. We could swing it.
Yeah. It's
yeah,
not super
maybe
close to
maybe
the
we'll
airport.
fly this time, Deej.
Yeah.
No. Well, maybe. Yeah,
Maybe.
maybe we should. Maybe we should.
Boston has just had some of the most ridiculous stories with our
Yeah,
podcast. It's
I mean,
insane.
I almost died on the way home from that trip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What?
Oh,
I ended up perpendicular on the road facing the median. I was like hydroplaning and like everything just went like nuts. And I just let go of the
oh
wheel
my
because I was
God.
like, I'm gonna die. So like whatever. and then it just like whipped back straight. So I just like pulled over for 5 minutes and just sat there.
Wow.
And
You
then
need to compose
me and my
yourself.
buddy, me and my buddy didn't talk for another 4 hours. Didn't say a word. And then we finally like saw something close to home and we like breathed and we're like, wow, we're seeing things we never thought we'd see again.
Wow. That's such a, I mean, I understand maybe now why you don't want to come back, but
And then I had to go home and deal with this guy not knowing who my favorite team was, because he references the vlog clip and he goes, okay, so like, who are you a fan of? You had on, the
You did
Archers
have
jersey, but you had the Atlas jersey like draped around your neck. And I was like, dude, you did no research, because
I didn't.
if you go on my Twitter, there's only one team that's all over it. And I'm like the biggest Redwoods fan that could be at the time. So
And
like,
I didn't know if he was like Rob Lowe at the NFL game with just the league
The-
hat on,
the
like
NFL hat.
just wants everyone to have fun. Like,
yeah.
no,
Just here supporting the Shield. No PLL.
hey, the amount of times I support the Shield in a week is crazy. Actually, I was wearing the old school bucket hat today, the bucket hat hoodie.
Yeah.
That's
Oh
got,
yeah.
I was
Oh,
wearing that one
yeah.
earlier today.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So maybe, talking about traveling for the league, you could say what you guys were at Champ Series, I believe. Like what your setup was there, what your impressions of the week were, and I mean, we've talked a little bit off there about what an incredible game that was, but maybe what that was like from your perspective as a Philly fan or as a relatively neutral observer.
yeah, I was there in person. Deej couldn't make the trip, but we had him in on our biggest interview of the weekend. Not to slight any of the other ones, but when you get a chance to sit down for 30 minutes with Mike Rabel in the premiere zone, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Champ Series, I was at the championship of it year one, and then I was there the whole week this year. And genuinely, I think it's one of the coolest concepts that the PLL has implemented since they started. Deej and I have talked about it, where like sixes is such a fun and fast format to get new fans into the mix. And when you can couple that with the stories that we've gotten from Champ Series the last 2 years with guys who are, just looking to get onto a roster, like you look at this year, like Ronan Jacoby stood out
Yeah.
like no other for the Archers, and now gets a 1-year contract with Atlas. And just seeing guys get those opportunities, like Max Wayne got that opportunity, and now he's, on that Cannons roster. And I think it's such a beneficial thing for guys who are just like trying to crack onto a team. And I know Mike and Paul talked about that on one-on-ones last week, where it's giving more opportunities for roster opportunities and coaches and GMs to kind of get a look at different guys that maybe they wouldn't have seen in the past. And it's like, oh, maybe this guy's gonna, be something for us, or we have his number on speed dial. And if we need somebody because of injury, or a guy's out 1 week, we know we can call this guy to come in and step up for us. That Cannons Water Dogs game is instant in my book, like top 3 PLL game of all time. It was just back and forth, physical. You could feel the embedded Philly Boston hatred in that game.
Boston.
It was just it was awesome.
This is hilarious being on the outside of this.
Yeah.
Because I don't care too much.
No, I totally agree that, and we talked about it on our first episode, like the obviously like the first quarter of the Cannons going up 8-4, I was like, oh my God, is this gonna be like are we gonna do a reverse of what they did to us a couple days ago? But like, yeah, the intensity that the whole way, especially after the first game, after the Water Dogs eliminating the Cannons from the playoffs. Yeah, we said again off air, it's like a bummer that Sowers did not play most of the game. I think that would have affected the result. Certainly could have. But it gave just a fantastic rivalry to the PLL that I think they've wanted, and they've hyped up. Probably Whips and Redwoods was the biggest rivalry before this, just kind of based on or no, it was Whips Atlas first year because of the Hopkins Maryland connections.
Right.
And then the
Right.
championship happened, and
Yeah, I think
sprang
now
that, and
with everything that's happened the past couple of years between these two teams, and then giving those
And
Cannons Water Dogs games are going to be in Boston and Philly this year. Like, cannot wait.
We think
yeah,
that's a
they are.
rivalry, and then we've talked about DJ, and I think the most underrated rivalry in the league is Chaos Archers.
Oh, interesting. Say more about that.
Okay.
So it starts with like that trade way back with Ian McKay and Connor Fields.
Oh
That's
yeah,
like when everything like
Yeah.
really popped off because like they played not too long after that. And that's when Ian went like bonkers and had like 3 2-pointers in
Yeah.
one game.
And everyone just called
And
it the Connor
LSN,
Fields
right?
trade.
yeah, and everybody's talking about like, oh, this is a Connor Fields trade. Connor Fields, like, revenge game and like all this. And then Ian's like, well, here
I
you
was
go.
part of it too.
Yeah, like so it was just like awesome to see him. I think that was out at Salt Lake, and I think I was there. I think that was the last time I went to Salt Lake City. It will be the last time I go to Salt Lake City. Trust me, Boston is much safer than Salt Lake City.
Wow.
Not in
Take
terms of
that.
literally, but like I would rather go to Boston than Salt Lake City. But yeah, no, that game was insane, and everybody like from there it trickled because both of those teams are so feisty. When you have guys like Latrell, John Robbins, Jared Connors, Matt McMahon, those guys get into it. Scott Ratliff even was into it with Chaos back when he played. Just the energy of the two teams and how they play. And then you had the multiple trades and free agency moves between the two teams. And from there, because Mac O'Keefe also came over to the Archers.
Jalen Rogers.
That's right.
Jalen Rogers. So yeah, like there's just been a lot of back and forth between these teams. And then the way they play just created this natural born rivalry that really nobody talks about outside of Chaos and Archers fans. It's weird.
All right, I'm definitely gonna pay a special eye to that game. Do you happen to know when they play? Because I think it'll only be once this upcoming season. Let me look at the.
It might be twice because Chaos are technically in the West.
Oh,
It
that
should be
is
twice.
right.
Yeah,
Chaos are in the
Chaos are in the
West. They're
West.
playing twice.
Thank goodness.
Right.
Which also means we get Woods Chaos twice, which I absolutely love.
Yeah.
That is to me
That'll
the
be
most
fun.
that's my most underrated rivalry.
So they play first in Philly, on the
Let's
Saturday in
go.
Philly. And then they also play. Let's see.
Oh, Baltimore on the 4th.
I
Okay.
can't wait to go to Baltimore. I actually get to go this year. I'm so hyped. I've never been to Baltimore, never been to John Hopkins. Like that's gonna be
Homewood's such a good venue. I've never
lacrosse
been either,
bucket
but
list
just-
check off. Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seeing the attendance at some of the Hopkins games this year, especially with Hopkins, like how good they've been, and the PLL events as well, has made me really, really want to go. Like, I know people.
Yeah.
One summer, I think, DJ, you've done this. Is one summer go to every weekend? That would be such an incredible way to spend your summer.
it's expensive.
Oh, I bet it is.
Oh,
It hurts. It hurts, but it's so much fun, dude. It is so much fun. And like you guys would get like
That would
the
be
press pass, so like you're getting in free, so like that helps a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's so much fun. And then like the pressers and just having the conversations with fans and people around the front office. Going to an event, especially as press, is like a next level experience. And
Yeah.
to say I've done both, like they're both next level experiences in different ways. Because like the fan experience is totally different than the press experience.
Right.
But they're both great in their own.
right. Well, I mean, when you're the press, it's like you're there doing a job. Like you're not just
And it's
doing
so
whatever you
cool.
want and sitting back and enjoying. Like you have stuff to do, so you might not be able to watch every second of the game or whatever it may be. You're working, which is just so different, I think.
It's cool though. I think from my personal experience, and I'm sure DJ can agree with this to some level, like since we are like a podcast, we're not like traditional media where like we're writing an article or something like that, and like we can just whip our phone out and like here's content to put out, whether it's on social or saving it to embed into a podcast or something. Like it's kind of a different experience from like that traditional media format where like us being there as media, yeah, we're working, but we're also like kind of in the moment while working, where we're not like trying to have to remember like statistics and everything per se. We're trying to like almost bring that weekend that we're at to our listeners and to our audience on social to like make it
Right.
feel like they're there. So that's kind of a cool experience as well, where like we can almost kind of enjoy it as a fan. And I think that's something the PLL has done such a phenomenal job of as a new and upstart league, where like they've just welcomed in, as long as you're, there and giving the PLL the public light in a positive way, like that it should have, like they're going to welcome in any form of media, where your traditional four sports are almost so behind on letting in the digital media space that is dominating, the
Yeah.
media world right now. You look, every player now has a podcast in the traditional four sports. They're partnering up with all these big media companies and stuff like that. And those are kind of the voices that people want. So for us to be able to have been in, ground zero, year one of the PLL as a podcast, and seeing the digital media, media members, it's kind of cool, every weekend seeing who shows up. And it's almost like, a Marvel movie almost, where it's like, oh, look, hey, we're about to team up and like cover this weekend for, the masses, and be like the boots on the ground for the people that can't make it, because it is a tour based league too.
Right. I think that's an awesome way to think about it. Yeah, you're not, I guess one person, I just made the comment about working, that you could take it in a way, oh, I can't just sit down and enjoy a game, but you're spreading joy and bringing it to more people so that more people can enjoy it. And what's better than sharing that love? I think that's a huge part of what we're doing here with the supporter groups, is we love the game of lacrosse. We love what the PLL is doing. For Aiden and I specifically, we love the Cannons and Boston sports. And so we're trying to build that connection between all of it and spread it to other people. I love talking to my other friends about the Sox and the C's and the B's and the Pats. And I listen to Boston sports talk radio all the time. And so it's totally normal to talk about the big four and hear all that stuff, but no one talks about the
Mm.
Cannons. And so having this platform here where we can talk about the Cannons or just talk about what's going on in the PLL in general is so cool to me, and is just so much fun. And that's something that you want to spread. You want more people to talk about that. Like, I don't want it to be a big four. I want it to be a big five. Like, I
Yeah.
want the PLL right there with the rest of the big four. That would be the ultimate goal, I think.
And I mean, you started all the right steps so far, and like you'll see once you like start to go, even if it's just a Gillette every year, people are going to notice you, people that you don't know. And then
It's
that's
so
when it's
weird.
going to like dawn on you that like you're reaching people and they're listening and they're paying attention. Like the very first time it happened to me was 2021 out in Salt Lake City. I was like out there and I was like down talking to K18 after he was like rapping. He just got done playing. Obviously, it was his last year, so he was like doing his go rounds and stuff. And I talked to him, shook his hand, and everything for a second, and then he signed the back of my jersey. And like kids were like trying to get my attention or whatever. And then someone goes, "Hey, aren't you DJ from outside the box?" And I like froze. I was like, "Whoa."
What?
Yeah.
Whoa. I was like, wait, people way outside of my region know who I am. This is
Yeah.
insane. And it like dawned on me that like we reach a very broad audience, and like a lot of people all over are listening and taking in this lacrosse and getting a different experience through us that they weren't able to get like through the TV or going to our social media and seeing clips from a different angle than what they saw on TV. Like I think all of that kind of encompasses how things work, and you'll start to see and it'll start to drive you as like people start to interact with you on socials or just see you out and about and then like reference the podcast, and that will start to like just churn your brain all the time. Like, okay, what can I do? What do these people want? How can I keep us relevant?
Yeah. Wow.
And even
Yeah.
just as a supporter group too, like in Philly, like I was talking to Libby about like setting a whole bunch of stuff up with all the supporter groups for our show and everything, and collaborating with all of you guys. And I likened it to what the Philadelphia Union have with the Sons of Ben and kind of like that soccer culture almost, but more family friendly than what, like Premier League and everything, because it has like centuries of, bad blood and everything built up. But like that's kind of the cool part about you guys kind of being like the faces of Boston's like supporter group, because Boston is like such a great sports town, and you know it's for the Boston Cannons, who I think you guys in Denver have like a little leg up on everyone else, where like you have that history to look back on from the MLL, and being able to dig up 20 years of MLL fandom and everything to reconnect with people who may have fallen off when the Cannons were moving around, or, they go to the PLL and there's no more like Boston affiliation. So people kind of like tune out a little bit. But now that they're back, like you guys have that prime opportunity to jump into a massive like sports market with a team that has decades of history, and be the faces of it, which I think is such a cool and unique opportunity.
Yeah. And I don't,
Definitely.
well,
Yeah. I mean, I've had multiple conversations of that exact point already, just with people telling me about like, oh, the Boston Cannons aren't like from the MLL. I was like, what happened to that league? What's the PLL? And because they remember the Boston Cannons, but they didn't realize that they were now in the PLL and that the PLL happened. Or even we were at the Harvard lacrosse game on Saturday talking to people, and I had multiple people, same thing there, come up to me and they're like, wait, the Cannons are from Boston now? Like, because I thought that they were traveling. Didn't they like stop existing when the MLL, and like you're like you get to explain like, no, like the Cannons are back, like this is exciting, they're coming back here. And especially like when we were at Harvard, we're like, they're gonna be right here playing Harvard 4th of July, like you should come. And they're like, that's so cool, like thank you so much for telling me, like definitely we'll see you there. And like it's just like, oh my gosh, like you're sharing that love, like to bring it all back to that, it's like there's so much excitement there.
And you guys get to be like that boots on the ground, like faces of like the fans, which I think is like such a cool concept that like Libby has come up with all the supporter groups, is
Yeah.
giving, these fans who want to be at the forefront for all of these teams, and being, kind of the ones to champion them into these home markets and stuff like that. And you guys have been on top of it. You guys were one of the first supporter groups that I saw. I was like, what is this? And then I was like, okay, is this just like a podcast that I'm happy about, that, a team oriented show is happening? And then when I saw like the supporter group, like boot camp at Champ Series, I was like, oh, this
Mhm.
is going to be awesome.
yeah.
Yeah. That credit to Libby. I mean, she is like just a rock star. I mean, the work that she and Allie and the PLL is putting in behind the scenes to help us, like Aiden and I would not be even close to the beginning stages of what we are at without them. Like they've just been phenomenal in helping us grow this. We during that summit that we had, we got to talk with some MLS supporter group leaders, and they were saying that they were blown away and so jealous at what the PLL was doing with us, and that they're like, I wish the MLS would do that with us. Like they're like, we're totally on our own. This was from scratch. Like they don't help us with anything. And so the fact that, I mean, kudos to them that they built it into what it is without getting the help. But like, I just couldn't even imagine trying to start this without having sort of any direction or guidance or assistance from Libby and the PLL. Like
Yeah.
I don't know. It, yeah.
Yeah. The task that, I mean, yeah, like you said, so much respect to all the MLS leaders to do it on their own. Um, yeah, we are so lucky to be in a sport um that yes, we all want it to grow, but while it's small, like as small as it is now, like there's so much like kindness in that community and people just wanting what's best for the sport and wanting to support like everyone else who wants the sport to keep growing. Um, and it's just so easy to make connections. Like at the Harvard game, we saw two parents of Cannons players that were there. We're like, you go to a Patriots game, that's not happening.
Yeah, and those are like
Right.
the most fun connections you can make in sports is meeting a player's parents.
Yeah.
Because
Right.
they're going to try to figure out who you are. You let them know, and then you have a new fan for life.
Mm-hmm.
It is one of the
Mhm.
coolest, like, it's weird, but in a cool way. And like,
It is.
EJ and I love meeting like players' parents when we're out on the road because like they connect with us, and then when we see them at another venue, they remember who we are, and it's like you have that instant connection with somebody. And then like, say you want to try to connect with that player, it's like, I know your parents.
Yep.
Do not make me call your mom.
You better do this.
Yep.
I got Jenny on speed dial.
Oh,
And you guys are in such a awesome opportunity too, because the Cannons roster's freaking stacked.
I know. We were like talking.
stacked with talent and with family connections.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we were talking about the draft. We've been obviously been talking about that a good bunch, but like it's a little less exciting because I feel like the Cannons don't have any big holes that they need filled. Like face off probably, like maybe some midfield depth, but like relative to, the Outlaws needing, they get the top pick, but like a lot of the Chrome had what, one good regular season and then they won the champ series. But other than that, it's been like 2 win seasons for them their whole existence. So
Mhm.
um
Well, the thing that I'm most excited about for the draft with the Cannons, obviously, given that I don't know exactly what is our biggest need, is did any of you guys see Dan Arestia's mock draft probably a week or two ago? But he had Pat Kavanagh falling to 6 for the Cannons. And I was like, that's all I want. I just want to reunite the
Hey,
captains.
low
mock was-
key, it could happen.
That's I don't see him going past 3, but so what
Why though? Well, let's like take a look at the top 3, right? I think it
Yeah.
might surprise a lot of people if Chrome goes NT first and drafts Liam Entenmann. I wouldn't
You
be
think he could
surprised.
go 1?
Absolutely. They low key need a goalie. Like I'm not a Timmy T. Like I like Timmy T, but I'm not a Timmy T fan. His 5-hole is atrocious.
the
You're
Atlas.
talking about
Oh,
Atlas at
Atlas.
2.
Oh, sorry. Yes.
I thought
Denver's at 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry. No.
Denver
Denver's
does not.
probably gonna if they don't choose BO. I think it's a crime.
I
Yeah.
think
I think it's a
I'm fine
crime
with them
against
taking
humanity.
Shelley. I'm fine with them taking
I
Shelley.
could see them taking Shelley, but I truly think it's a crime against humanity.
It's organizational malpractice to not take a guy who's playing on the world's team as a junior in college
Yeah.
and had
And
6
is the
points in
best
the
player on said team.
and won the MVP of the tournament.
Yeah, like he had 6 points in the championship game. Like you have to draft that kid first.
Yeah.
I don't care what
Yeah.
happened this year. That kid is the kid. But then
Right.
Entenmann might go second. And maybe Shelley goes third, but then you start looking at the teams that are available and what do they need? A lot of teams after those top 2, maybe 3, don't need attackmen.
Right.
So
Well,
he very well could drop to 6 depending on how things shake out.
that's what Arestia had was he had Shelley going 1, and then Atlas taking O'Neill 2. Then he had the Whips taking Pacino,
Casino, yeah.
Pacino at 3. Then he actually had Chaos taking No Block 4th, and then Entenmann 5 to the Atlas. So the Cannons taken
Could
Cav,
happen.
and I was like
That
when
could
you
happen.
say when because you keep hearing it's O'Neill, Shelley, and Cav at the top of the 3. So when you think Cav can't fall to 6, how could a shoe in top 3 fall to 6? But then you hear those names, and I'm like, wait, all of
Because
those picks make sense. Like I
Yeah.
could legitimately see how the board falls that way.
all it takes is for one of those teams to not choose an attackman, probably the Whip Snakes. Because
Yeah.
I'll tell you right now, Chaos isn't choosing one. They don't need one. They're
No.
going to go get a midi, if anything, because they don't need poles either. Maybe they get another face-off guy, but they
They might
arguably
need
don't
an
need that.
attackman now that Kluch was placed on the holdout list.
I think that was just – did he get hurt during the Buffalo game?
I don't know if he got hurt, but I do think it is more NLL related than World Box related, like it is with some of the other guys from Chaos, like Ryan Smith and Dane. But it is interesting that, you know, he signed that extension through 2026 and then got placed on the holdout list.
But realistically, they have attackmen playing midfield right now, so they could just pump one down and move on. So like we know how AT is.
I would never put anything past AT.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't trust him to take Pat. Pat doesn't fit his system. I would trust him to go take a Pacino or another LSM. That's just what he does, especially a U Albany one. But yeah, all it takes is for those two to not draft an attackman, which could very well happen based on their current layouts on their roster. And there you go. He slips. Because Atlas drafting him is insane.
No,
if Atlas drafts Pat Cav, that's insane.
No, I mean, the Chris Gray trade made it pretty clear they wanted a right-handed attackman.
Mm-hmm.
And that is, that's why I think it would be so funny if Shelley went first, because then they have to have O'Neal. They have O'Neal and Heat. No, they just have O'Neal play midfield probably because he did that at the Worlds. But
it's O'Neal is, as we said, generational talent. If the Outlaws actually pass on him, Atlas, you take him and figure out what to do, because you can't pass on a talent like that, even though the Outlaws technically would have passed on a talent like that, which is why he probably will still go one.
It'll be like the Pistons drafting Darko Milicic in 2003 when they had plenty of other options below.
What's been your guys' favorite move the Cannons have made? Because I mean, it's been a busy offseason.
Yeah,
so like,
gotta be Apple.
Yeah, like
I think like that was the big one for me. Just like the defense was solid last year, and I think that the offense was what got all of the hype throughout the year, just with all of the new, both with the loss of Lyle, but then adding Marcus and Cavan, just how good they were. And then, you know, you trade for Bryce Young, and it's like, all right, yeah, they're solidifying that backcourt. And then especially because like that was the last move of the day, so you're like watching all of these names drop, and especially with all the guys leaving Redwoods, and I'm like, when are the Cannons gonna get involved? And then like right at the end of the day, you get that Apple coming through, and it's like, no way. I mean, defending defensive player of the year just out of nowhere joining them. I'm like, yes, please sign me up. I'm good. I'm good. I don't need anything else.
I may have a sneaky pick for what I've loved that Brian Holman has done, and I think DJ might agree with me here, even though he is a defense guy. I think so many people as a whole are sleeping on the acquisition in that Bryce Young trade of Connor Kirst. He is a stud. And the fact that he gets to play with his brother as their goalie now, like Connor, like the Whipsnakes are like the type of team that, like, if you're not Zed or Rambo or a member of that defense, and obviously Earhart, but now that he's retired, like a lot of guys don't get like that true like glimmer of the spotlight. And Connor Kirst was one of those guys that just, you know, put his hard hat on, brought his lunch pail to work, and like did the dirty work in that midfield for the Whipsnakes. And the fact that he gets added to that midfield for the Cannons now is, I think, sneaking under the radar big time.
Yeah, and I think he'll get to play more offense now because they got Goodrich and Fairman and at least one guy who's I'm forgetting right now. But
they have Jeff Trainer coming back too.
Oh, yeah, Trainer.
What's his name? Oh, it's right on the tip of my tongue. That makes me upset. Because I remember having a conversation with KB about the Cannons possibly having 3 nominees for short stick of the year.
Yeah, let me pull up their roster. That's
But the other
embarrassing.
one is not coming to
They
my
have
head.
Bubba Goodrich, Jeff Trainer, and Pat Aslanian listed as
Oh yeah, Pat is
Pat.
lying.
Mhm.
Oh yeah.
Another set of brothers.
Yep.
Yep.
But the only problem with Connor is he's not Cole. Like,
true, not teammate of the year cursed.
yeah, Cole is just like I don't even know how to explain it, man. The kid's big and he like brings energy. Because I was out at a fraternity conference in Syracuse in 2023 last year, and I got to sneak away, and Notre Dame was in town, and like Notre Dame ended up beating Syracuse, but like every time Syracuse needed something, it was Cole dodging through like three guys and scoring, and then just erupting with absolute emotion and energy, and like he brings that to the POL too, and like just having that impact, no matter where he goes, I think is what separates him from the other Curse brothers. But you guys got one in that though. That kid's insane, Colin.
Yeah.
That kid's insane.
Yeah, I cannot wait to watch. Like, I think I made the joke to Jack. I don't know if I made it elsewhere, but like, Epple, Young, Keelty, Van Raphorst, and then Kirst. Like plus their short 60 mids. Like the Cannons might finish some games with more caused turnovers than goals allowed.
Plus Jake Pulver in the mix. Like
Oh, and
Max
Rawl.
Wayne,
Hey,
Ethan Rawls.
the crazy thing is, I don't think Pulver or Wayne make many game day rosters this year.
No,
I think your two pole tandem is Van Rapperhorst and
Rawl.
Ethan Raw.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree.
That's
and,
I mean,
and you have Craig Chick on the
and
roster too.
I
Like
say
it's a
maybe Pulver gets on the bench as like a fifth pole, maybe
yeah,
just to have one
someone's
in
gonna
case
get hurt
someone
at
gets
some point.
hurt. Yeah, exactly. Like, but then that's where we get back in the conversation of them possibly expanding game day rosters to
Yeah.
spots, which would make things so much easier because then you can park that one deep hole
Yeah.
out there and have an extra mid, or you can dress two face-off guys, or something like that.
Yeah.
And I mean, we've seen Brian Holman not be afraid to pull the trigger on a trade. So, like, an embarrassment of riches could net you some things like for the now or down the line. And, Cannons, since they've come into the PLL, haven't had that many draft picks. But when they do, they hit the nail on the head. So it wouldn't shock me if we see Brian Holman try to wheel and deal on draft night either.
Yeah. Oh, that's true. They could wind up with a couple more picks than they currently have. That would be exciting.
Who do you guys want them to pick?
Biggest one for me is I want a Fogo. ASO is what Dan Arestia suggested when he came on from Duke. Or I guess Weirman has been the best so far, or one of the best last couple of years. So one of those two guys probably. But if he picks another guy, like I trust him for sure. And then like another big midfielder like Knobloch or Dobson, like whichever one of them is left at 6, or Pat Kavanagh.
I feel like Pat Kavanagh is like the pipe dream, and if it happens, like
yeah,
I just pray to God you guys pick Eric Dobson and we don't. The Woods need to move on from the big tall midfielders. It's just not the move.
Yeah.
It does not work for us.
Yeah, our guy Chase, his 2.0 mock draft had Shane Knobloch dropping to you guys at 6, and then Jake Naso in the second round at 14.
Yeah, I'd be happy with that.
I think the Woods are going to end up taking Chase Erlin.
Oh yeah,
because I don't think NT is going to be there.
No, probably not.
But I think Chase is a good fit, and I also think they can get away with getting Will Mark because he's probably going to slide.
Yeah,
and I'm a fan of Will Mark.
Yeah.
So should I break some news on the Boston Battery podcast and give you guys the upper hand as a supporter group with some breaking news?
If you've got some news to break, I say absolutely go for it.
So we might have hinted at this, but we finally connected across the board. But the Boston Battery and their entire watch party, where's your guys' watch party going down?
It is at the Banshee Bar and Restaurant in Dorchester.
It's a great name for a bar.
It sure is.
So joining us live from there, along with every other supporter group that is recognized from the PLL, we'll be joining DJ, myself, Chase, and a list of guests that will be announced very soon on our 3rd annual PLL College Draft Extravaganza watch-along companion stream going down on Tuesday at 7 p.m. on the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel. So you guys will be checking in with us, giving us your your instant reaction to all your picks. And man, if it's Pat Cav going to Boston, that place is going to be going nuts.
Oh yeah.
But I'm pumped that, all you guys are going to be checking in. We'll have live reactions on ESPN, and then you can also be watching with us, and live reactions unfiltered, no censor beeps or anything that ESPN has to abide by, but we're no filter, and you guys can just get those thoughts off as your draft picks roll in, and we'll be checking in throughout the entire night of the 4 rounds.
All right. Yeah, I'm very excited for that too. I mean, this is just one more amazing thing that the PLL has let us do, and to hopefully see more people get excited, or have people see us get excited about the amazing players that are surely coming to the Cannons, whether it's the 3 picks they have allotted or the several more that Brian Holman will acquire on the night.
100%.
awesome.
And then we were talking in the group chat too. I think we're going to plan to have, during the respective homecoming weekends for each team, have each supporter group jump on the pod with DJ and I to get the fans riled up and hyped for those homecoming weekends. So you'll be spending July 4th with us on the podcast.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And we
Can't
will
wait to do that.
Yeah, so hyped for
Oh.
that. Cannot wait. I mean, if the Cannons are 0-5 at that point, maybe not, but I very much doubt that.
No,
I think
that was great.
I think I have one more for you guys because I'm curious as Cannons fans.
All right.
Mhm.
What is your overall take on the Lyle Thompson situation?
Honestly, I am good with him not coming back. I love Lyle Thompson. He's a phenomenal lacrosse player, and I think that lacrosse is better with him playing, and he still is playing. So he's still a part of the game. He's in the NLL, MSL, but obviously not in the PLL. But I think that it might sound harsh, but ball hog isn't the right word, but he's so ball dominant.
Mm.
I think that the offense just was all about him when he was here. And so with the way that the offense has been revamped, I don't know how he could fit in. Like, not that he can't play off ball. I mean, the guy's a stud.
Mm-hmm.
And I would, just like I said with Brennan O'Neill, that you find a way to make it work. If he comes back, you find a way to make it work because it's Lyle Thompson. But I'm content with how our offense was last year, so I don't miss him.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Honestly, my big hope was that Lai would want to come back and the Cannons would trade him to the Outlaws for the #1 pick and get Brendan O'Neill. Because I think O'Neill would fit better in the Cannons than Lai would. And I'll say obviously, they're not going to get Brendan O'Neill again, but if Lyle ever does want to come back to the PLL, assuming the Cannons still have his rights, I would look for him to get traded more than to suit up for the Cannons again. As crazy as that sounds, like if you told me that in 2021, I would not have believed you.
We threw the
Right.
same thing around. We said
Yeah.
that trading Lyle probably made the most sense just because of how the offense was constructed. But then as soon as the home cities were announced and Chrome was no longer a thing and it was Denver, DJ and I threw around the idea of him getting traded to the Atlas.
Yeah, that would make
Because
the
it's
most
closer
sense.
to home for him in New York. And
Yep.
you still have that opening there. And, even though he's still playing at an elite level, you don't know how many more full years Eric Law is going to play. So then you kind of fill those shoes with Lyle, and then you have Lyle and Jeff Teat on the same team, which just feels like a cheat code in itself.
And presumably Connor Schellenberger.
Yeah.
I need that kind of crazy delusional imagination you had to whip up that first round draft pick for BO onto the Cannons, because that would have never popped up in my brain. I'd be trying to cook stuff for the Woods and it just never comes out right. That is so far away from what I have in my mind. Every
he's playing
time
4D chess and we're just playing normal chess.
I know. I'll be trying so hard to be that trade calculator guy, and I'm just not.
No, that's not normally a strength of mine, and maybe the compensation would have been different. Like I'd Lyle and a pick for O'Neal or O'Neal and a pick for Lyle, but I think it's probably all hypothetical at this point because the one-on-ones that came out today or yesterday um seemed like that the
Yeah.
Ravens were pretty certain Lyle was not coming back in the near future,
Yeah.
Yeah, which
which
is a bummer.
yeah,
A
but
bummer.
he's not playing midfield and he's not taking Holman's spot and he's not taking Nolding's spot.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
he's not left-handed, so he's not taking Kavanagh's spot.
Yeah, how'd you guys feel about Asher moving down to attack?
I was like so with what you said about Lyle falling to six, or with that conversation of teams not needing midfielders, this trend that had happened in the PLL for a couple of years of, yeah, you're drafting the best available players, but taking guys who've played attack their whole lives and putting them at midfield, I just don't think it sets a lot of players up to succeed. Because it's a different skill set. Like Drenner's been able to do it really well. O'Neal obviously did it at the Worlds. I think if he winds up doing that at the PLL, he'll do well. And maybe he will because they have Wisnauskas too. Um,
Jules.
yeah. Jules, I think Jules belongs at X. I
I
think
agree.
He does. But he, with the way the Woods offense was constructed, he did a great job of being that speed guy to force slides and move the ball. So like he can be effective up there, but I would much prefer him down low
yeah,
in
but
agreement.
you're not taking Rob Pennell anywhere else.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like the Matt Moore situation with
Mm.
Grant Met.
Yeah. Moore, I think, was much more able to move up to the midfield. And
Because he did it at UVA a lot
yeah,
of his senior year. He kind of just played up top. I thought it was really weird, but he like diced from up there, so
yeah.
I didn't say
And
too
Schellenberger
much.
too. I think
Yeah.
Schellenberger started as a midi. Um, so I'm glad that there are some, elite level middies that people are talking about. I mean, still after, Schellenberg, O'Neal, Kavanagh, and Brandow. Um, but I hope the Cannons draft a midfielder with their pick. Or
So,
uh
any, do you have any in particular? There's a few names kind of gotten thrown around.
yeah, I think just, for their first round at least, Knobloch or Dobson, just as being the biggest ones. But
How do you
uh,
feel about is it Stevens
oh
coming
yeah,
out of
Ooh, Jake
Syracuse?
Stevens would be good too.
Yeah,
yeah,
I think he's kind of been flying under the radar. I think he would look great in a Woods jersey. I've kind of brought that up a few times. Being a speed guy in the midfield to go alongside Alex Simmons, who the Woods just brought in.
yeah. Who I'm a Firewolves fan as well in the NLL, and seeing
Okay.
him this year was electric.
Yeah, I'm excited to see him in a Woods jersey this year, and he's
Yeah,
kind of just going to take over that Jules role of being the speed guy in the midfield. Um,
yeah.
but
And
yeah,
then Ryan Lee, if he's
yeah,
healthy.
he's supposed to come back and play. So I don't know how the attack thing's going to work out because it just extended Westberg.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
I don't
didn't
know who.
wasn't Berg one of those attack who played midi for the Chaos
Yeah.
for a bit?
He was kind of like positionless almost.
Yeah,
Yeah, but like on the Woods, he like is an attackman and
yeah,
plays inside. But like that's what Ryan Lee does.
right.
So it's like, what are they going to do?
Maybe
You know
maybe it's
what?
another trade that happens. See,
You know what?
this is
I'm
why they
not.
draft
I
too
don't
many attack.
coach. Yeah, exactly. I don't coach, so I'm gonna
Yeah.
let him do his
This is
thing.
why we need the next like tech innovation for the PLL needs to be the PLL trade machine.
Ooh.
Yes,
Ooh,
Yeah.
yes.
okay.
We need Brendan Coleman to cook that up in the app so we can just go into the PLL app and just like waste hours and hours of hypothetical trades that will never happen, but we can fully falsify, lose ourselves in delusion over
Oh yeah.
like video game
Right.
trades.
That's some good
Definitely.
Instagram account content right there.
That
Yes.
is.
Yeah. Jack, we got to start mocking those up.
Yeah. Done.
And
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
eventually we'll get like the salary matching and everything, and then
Yeah.
people will be
That's right.
real like hardcore about it, and it's like, bro, it's not that serious. Like, I just want to trade a player for a player. I don't care about salaries matching.
Or hear me out
Exactly.
here. We take a format of a lacrosse game and get it to EA, and just tell them you just have to make Chell again, but just like put it in the air with lacrosse sticks. Like,
Yeah.
it's
Well,
that simple. Like it's
that
just
was on the one-on-ones
Yeah,
today
that was
with
one of the one-on-ones topics.
Mike
Yep.
and Paul. They're like, we would love to make a game, but it is so much effort.
Mike
It
came on our
is.
show in 2021, and I asked him about it, and
We
it's
got
a
Top
lot
Shelf.
of. And then the next day, Top Shelf dropped in the App Store.
Yeah.
But he was basically saying like you need to find not only like the digital people for the art and like the mechanics and everything, but it's a matter of the overall thing is having the demand. And I know he talked about it in the clip from one-on-ones, like it feels like the demand is there, and it's just a matter of one of the gaming studios being like, all right, let's try this and
Let's
take a
invest in
risk.
this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
But-
I guess we just got to start tweeting at EA.
Yeah.
Guess so.
I think that's the move.
Yeah, next step.
I
EA,
tweeted at
2K,
Uno.
whatever.
Yep.
I tweeted at Uno once and they responded. So
Okay.
Hit you with a
It-
reverse
it-
card.
No. They answered my question and told me I was right. So I was like, "Oh, we real Gucci Uno, locked in."
What a wonderfully positive Twitter interaction.
I know, right? It's
How
not normally the
about that?
case.
Amazing.
Twitter's a hostile place sometimes.
Yeah.
How about it?
Uh, Thank you guys so much for coming on. This was a lot of fun. Maybe some of these things will come to pass, whether it's Lyle for O'Neill or much more feasibly the Cannons drafting a face-off guy. But you'll have all our reactions May 7th. If you've made it this far in the podcast, please come to the Banshee. It's right off the JFK UMass stop on the Red Line. We would love to see you there. Cheer on the Cannons and the other teams. Hope they mess things up just as badly as the Cannons succeed.
There it is. That's the
Everyone drafts
banter we
goalies,
need.
except-
That's the banter.
That's the
Yes.
good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Cannons
go
picks are
go to
great.
their draft party, guys. Like
Yeah.
literally, I think like the draft party concept for every team is so awesome. Like if you're in the area, you don't have anything to do on Tuesday night, even go out for the first round. Even
Yeah.
like if you can't make it the whole time,
Definitely.
go out and
Yeah.
support these boys because they're fucking grinding. And I apologize if I can't curse on your podcast, but I'm like pumped
You're
for you
good.
guys
Yeah.
because you
You're
guys are
good.
crushing it, and it's awesome seeing not only you guys but all the supporter groups like just like it's the next like elevation of what the league is going to become, and you guys are the faces of it for the Boston Cannons. So keep crushing, and
Thank you.
anything we can do to help you guys out, we're right there for you, and you'll be on the
Thank you.
show
Yeah.
in July.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Appreciate
All right.
it. Yeah.
Did I
Definitely
hear
come out for
Banshee?
the
Did I hear
Banshee.
the Banshee?
Banshee.
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 Okay.
Banshee.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's
that'll
what I
be
thought. That's
the
insane. I love that.
it'll be in the description for anyone interested
Yeah.
in the area. And then I'll also put in the description, let people know where they can find you guys on all your socials.
At OTB Laxpod everywhere.
Awesome.
Very easy.
Definitely come out
Yep.
for the watch party, even though I actually won't be there.
Because
Just slide that in there. I will actually be at the draft
Let's
as
go.
the Cannons
Yo, that's sick.
fan representative. So I will actually be announcing the 4th round pick of
Let's
the Cannons.
go.
So catch me on ESPN, reading someone's name. Hopefully I don't butcher it.
You have to get that guy's jersey.
But
Yeah, I think you do.
I think I do.
That's
I
so
I
awesome.
should have applied, and then I should have just taken RJ's vlog clip and just submitted.
That's
that.
all you had to. Yeah.
Be like, I know I got on like 5 different jerseys here, but I'm a Redwoods fan, and yeah, this just take
You're
a
like the video meme of the old teacher walking in like, hello class, and it's just different shirt on every day.
Yeah.
yeah, literally me. I think I've worn every team's jersey at a game at least once.
That's
Menace.
so funny.
Yeah. All right.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Cannot wait. Just under a week now. Even less than a week by the time you're listening to this because it's not live. And so with that, I think we'll close it off. Thank you both again for coming, and go Cannons, go Woods, go Dogs.
Mostly go Cannons.
All right.
We
See you all, everyone.
See you guys.